My spoiler chat for Shogun episode
Shogun
5
episode
broken
five,
to the fist.
Broken to the Fist just got over with, and not even like 2 minutes, 3 minutes into the episode, it was just crazy. Like, shocker. When this is a spoiler, so I might jump around, but when that army was just coming to the camp, I was like, uh oh, they're in big trouble. And find out it was Mariko's husband, Lord Buntaro, was still alive. I was like, no way, what? That just throws a wrench into John Blackthorne, and just like with him and her, with Mariko. Um, so, cause I'm gonna mispronounce it, but like Lord Taranga's friend, Shigi, Taranga was like, yeah, go back to Osaka, and it's like, I think it was like, go back to the console and stuff, and claim your allegiance to the council. So, and then he was like, well, before that, before he left, he was like, oh, should I, discipline, your son, whatever. And then I was just like, oh man, his dad was like really upset at him to begin with. But then, like later in the episode, I think he was like came to terms with it. I'm like, wow, his dad was like, maybe that was a really good move that he did. The I love when Mariko's husband and John Blackthorne was having sake. There he was like, yeah, where I come from, we use bigger cups. When he poured the sake in the bowl, oh my god, I was laughing so hard. And then when Lord Bantaro grabbed the bowl, he was like, give me a bowl. And poured the sake in there. And I was like, how many bowls of sake did they have? Oh my god. I was like, what the hell? And then he was like, I love the line where he was like, um, tell me a story where it's just like, and he was like, stories are, or something like, stories is for children, and something is for the dead or whatever. I can't remember what he said, but I love that line that Lord Buntaro said. And then he was just like, tell me about when John Blackthorne was an arrow. And then when he grabbed the bow and he was going to show Lord, or when he, not Lord Blackthorne, when he was going to show John Blackthorne how to shoot the arrow, or like shooting an arrow, and then Mariko was like left or right post. And I'm like, I don't think Lord Buntaro should be shooting arrow after like 20 bowls of sake. Oh my god! When he shot the arrow, and it was like they did a close up of Mariko's face, and the arrow was like just past her face. I was like, okay, all right, that's it. And they shot another arrow, and I was like really shocked when uh like I he was drunk, and obviously it was the sake, but when Lord Buntaro like punched or beat up like Mariko, and I was like, oh my god. And then like they went outside, and I just thought they were gonna have a sword battle between Buntaro, Lord Buntaro, and Lord I keep wanting to say Lord Blackthorne, John Blackthorne, and he was like, no, it was the sake. And he was like, the sake. So I think you basically Lord Buntaro was just like, here. I thought he was like, here, take my life because I beat up my wife, and man, just like the whole pheasant thing when it was like hung the pheasant, and then when like I think it was just like a little bit before in the episode where he was like, yeah, don't touch the pheasant that's hanging up, and then obviously after a few days it started like to decompose. And then his servant, John Blackthorne, says, like, yeah, well, can we take this pheasant down? It's like, really stinking up the place. So, like, after, I think it was like the next morning, um, like, Mariko went off to go sit by the cliff, and that's when John Blackthorne went to go find her. And that's when Mariko was like, I just think we should just like, like chill out and stuff, and just be, I be the narrator. I can't even say. I keep saying the translator. That's I want to say narrator, translator. But then like when he went back, like the gardener was just like, a garden is not a garden without a rock. And I was like, oh, it's cool. Like they had like a really cool kind of like moment, John Blackthorne and the gardener. And then when he went back to his house, the pheasant was gone, and then they found out like because he took it down because it was decomposing, and they took his life. The gardener, just because John Blackthorne was like, "Don't touch the pheasant," and the gardener took it because it was decomposing and sneaking up the village, and then he got killed for it. And I was like, "What? Oh my god! Like no way! Like what? Like just because of bird?" And he was just like John Blackthorne was just like he just kind of like that was his last like moment. He just couldn't believe like the Japanese people like would kill somebody just because of taking a bird down. He's like, I kind of give the guy props for basically. He didn't say props, but basically he's like getting up there taking the bird down. But yeah, but before that, when he would found out, when I was just like, yeah, when when Taranga was like, oh yeah, you and your husband's gonna be staying with like John Blackthorne, or as the Anjin they called him, but John Blackthorne. I was like, oh my god, that's gonna be so much drama. That's so awkward. And it's basically like when Lord Taranga, when they're, I guess they were gonna get ready to show the canon when he came back, and like John Blackthorne was gonna show him a how the cannons were used and stuff, and show him um, how was gonna just basically fire him off and stuff and everything. And then he was just like, I just want to go on my ship. I want my guys. I'm just done. I can't believe like how you people treat this guy. And he was just like, he just took down a pheasant and you killed him. And then Mariko was like, you live, and he was like, you basically live and you die. And Lord Tarang was like, stop, tell him to stop acting like a child and stuff and everything. And guess what? Another earthquake. I mean, this one had to be like an 8.5 and 9.0. Man, it was crazy seeing the cliff like just go down, like just collapse behind Lord Taranga, and just like some of the soldiers was going down the hill because of the collapse of all the dirt falling down. Lord Taranga like went down and went into this big giant cliff. That was crazy. And John Blackthorne and the rest of them just like jumped down into the cliff, tried to find Lord Taranga, and there he was buried underneath the dirt. I was like, oh my god, if he dies, I'm gonna be so mad. And then he was buried in the dirt, and they were digging and got him out. And then like John Blackthorne just like smacking his back to get the dirt out of his mouth and get him to breathing and stuff. And he lost his sword, so it was really really cool that John Blackthorne like gave him his sword. He was like, here, take them, And then I was just like, okay. I just love their friendship between Taranga and John Blackthorne. And then you saw like a tsunami where the water just like basically take out the village, and then him going to go back to the village and just kind of like seeing the destruction and going back to where his place was and seeing the sergeant or his servant was injured and stuff and everything. I was like, oh no, I kind of like her. I'm like, please let her be all right. And I thought it was cool that when the gardener earlier in the episode was putting the rock up when he was working in the garden, and I thought that was cool that John Blackthorne like put the rock up in the garden, kind of as a remembrance of the gardener who got killed. But then like Lord Kashibi was just like, or whatever, like who lived here and stuff. Was the gardener the spy? Was he the spy? I don't know if he was the spy or not. And then I forget the one lady, I forget her name, but she got released and stuff, and she was just like, the council's gonna answer to me. And I was like, oh no. I was like, oh man, that's how it ended. Next week looks insane. Each episode gets better. Sorry for the long video, but I had to talk about the episode and talk about the scenes and stuff. This show is a thumbs up. I loved episode 5. I can't wait till next Tuesday's episode for episode 6. So anyway, have a great night, everybody. Talk to you later.